The night was calm, the kind of night where even the stars seemed to whisper peace over the quiet countryside. But peace has a cruel way of breaking when hatred finds its match. In the middle of that silent night, the crackling roar of fire tore through the darkness. Flames leapt high against the horizon, licking at the black sky as if trying to tear it open. Smoke rose like a cruel banner of destruction, and in the middle of it all stood Emily, a young farm girl, helplessly watching as her family's field, her life, her pride, her only source of hope, was consumed by the merciless blaze. Her heart pounded in her chest, her eyes filled with tears, and yet inside her, something stronger than sorrow began to stir. Something sharp, something fierce. Before I take you deeper into Emily's powerful journey, let me pause for a second. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us of the strength inside ordinary people, Emily's family had always lived simply. They weren't wealthy, but their farm gave them enough to survive, enough to smile, and enough to believe in tomorrow. Every stalk of wheat, every row of corn, every blade of grass carried years of sweat, love, and quiet sacrifice. But bullies had marked her. These boys from the nearby town had always laughed at her patched clothes, mocked her for her quiet ways, and jeered at the hard work she did in the fields. For them, her pride was their plaything. And on that fateful night, their cruelty crossed the line between mischief and destruction. They set her field on fire, not caring, not realizing, or perhaps not even imagining the scars they would leave behind. The next morning, the farm was a graveyard. Ashes covered the earth like gray snow, the smell of smoke lingered in every corner, and Emily's parents stood silent, their faces hollow with despair. They had no savings. The crops were gone. The livestock had nothing to feed on. The future they had held so carefully had turned into cinders overnight. For Emily, the pain was unbearable. It wasn't just the loss of crops, it was the laughter of those bullies echoing in her mind, the cruel smirks she could still see on their faces. She was only a girl, but inside her, a storm was building. She swore to herself that she wouldn't let this go. She wouldn't just cry. She wouldn't just beg for pity. She would rise, like a ranger, silent, watchful, and relentless. Days turned into weeks, but Emily never stopped observing. She studied the boys from afar, watching their movements, learning their habits, noting their weaknesses. She worked in the burned field during the day, her hands blistering as she tried to salvage what little could grow again. At night, she walked the edges of town, her steps quiet, her eyes sharp. What others saw as a fragile farm girl was now something entirely different. She was becoming a hunter, and her prey was not animals, it was justice. The first time she confronted them, she didn't speak. She simply stood in their path, her burned hands still stained with soot, her eyes unwavering. The bullies laughed at her, tossing insults like stones. But something in her silence unnerved them. She didn't fight back with fists or words, she fought back with presence, with resilience, with the terrifying strength of someone who refuses to break. That night, one of the boys tossed a rock near her feet, but instead of flinching, Emily picked it up, held it, and calmly placed it down as if to say, "You will never shake me." Her quiet defiance began to spread. The townspeople started noticing her strength. Whispers went around about the farm girl who never bowed, who worked harder than anyone despite having lost everything. She became a symbol of grit. And slowly, the bullies' laughter started to falter. They couldn't understand why their cruelty wasn't enough to crush her. They expected tears, but they were met with fire in her eyes. But Emily wasn't only defending herself. She was planning. With time, she gathered evidence, scraps of burnt fabric left behind at the scene, footprints near the edge of her field, and even the careless bragging one of the boys made at the local store. Piece by piece, she built her case. When the moment was right, she went to the town council, not with anger, but with proof. She stood tall, her voice steady, as she laid out the truth. People who once ignored her now listened, and the bullies who once seemed untouchable were left exposed. The punishment came, not in fire, but in work. The council ordered the bullies to restore what they had destroyed. They were forced to toil in Emily's fields, under her watchful eyes, turning the ashes into life again. Every seed they planted was a reminder of the harm they had caused, and every hour of labor was a lesson in humility. For Emily, it wasn't about revenge, it was about justice, about teaching them the weight of cruelty and the value of rebuilding. Seasons passed, and slowly, the land healed. The charred soil sprouted green again, the wind carried the scent of new life, and the farm began to flourish even stronger than before. Emily had not only reclaimed her field, she had reclaimed her dignity, her place, and her voice. The bullies, too, were changed. Some never apologized, but others, seeing the quiet grace with which Emily carried herself, began to feel the shame of their actions. One boy even returned, years later, to thank her for showing him a different way. Emily's story is not just about loss or pain, it is about transformation. She was a farm girl who could have been broken, but instead, she rose as a ranger, fierce in spirit, relentless in courage, and unwavering in her pursuit of justice. Her fire burned brighter than the flames that tried to destroy her. And now, dear listener, if this story has touched your heart, if Emily's courage has reminded you of the strength we all carry inside, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Pulse. Your support helps us spread these stories of resilience and kindness across the world. Special request before we close, please take a moment to comment below what lesson you took from Emily's journey. Your words might inspire someone else who is going through their own fire.